Hello MMA community, YouTubers, and my OG patrons. Alright, we're coming at you post-fight video of Dana White Contender Series from last night. Man, what a good show it was, huh? I told you guys that you guys can expect it to be like one of those college games or NFL college games or basketball college games where everybody's just doing some wild stuff and you're going to have a fun show to watch. But it was even better than my expectations, man. What can I say? You know, a couple of things I wanted to touch on, you know, like when Dana White had said something, I think, about the main event. We picked the underdog, by the way, cashed in very nicely on this main event. Souza beat the undefeated, even though he technically wasn't undefeated. If you looked at his record, he had a loss in his amateur career. So he was actually coming in with a one-loss record on his amateur, in his combined total record. He did have one loss, but anyways, he was technically undefeated in the professionals. And, you know, the guy was bragging about how nobody wanted to take a fight with him in over 2 years. Nobody was willing to fight against him because he was a beast and he was going to do this and this and that. I told you guys, don't worry, because the other guy he was fighting against, the underdog, who came in even a bigger underdog, if you remember what Bisping, the commentator, said on right before the fight started, that somebody had, a lot of people started putting more chalk on the undefeated favorite, that he turned into a big underdog right before the fight started, and actually had placed a bet right last minute that took advantage of that line movement, which is why I keep telling you guys, as a patron, you have the advantage of taking it, getting instant notifications from me on, and I did. If you look at my Patreon, you're my Patreon members, you guys can see I made it immediately after the co-main event finished. I said, anybody who wants to make some extra money, lay some heavy chalk on the co-main event. I mean, the main event. I said, go with Souza. Souza became a bigger underdog than he already was. And as I told you guys, I said, if somebody watches the video before I posted it and then watch the fights, they would say, this guy, there's no way he didn't watch the fights first and then make the video. Well, thank God for timestamps on YouTube. So, as I told you guys, have you ever seen a fight where the guys spend 80% of the fight, more than 7 minutes to like less than 1 minute in control time, which is one of the biggest factors in what the judges look at? The guy, the favorite walking into the fight, had like 7 minutes of control time on top of this guy, and he still lost the fight. And what did I tell you guys before the fight started? I said, this guy wins fights off of his back. And I said, if the guy thinks he's going to take him to the ground, my exact words, and have a field day with him, he's going to be in for a surprise. This guy, I've seen him take people out. He was doing more damage. He was giving, as the Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer and legend and former champion Michael Bisping, who was commentating that night, said in his own words, this guy's won the fight. He's done more damage on his back from the ground than he was on the feet, and he was doing damage on the feet. That's why the guy kept trying to take him down, where he doesn't even have the advantage. He was falling asleep on top of him, just trying to avoid the fight. Like I said, I've seen fights, I've been in them, when what this guy was doing was not offensive. When he took him to the ground, it was defensive. It was his way of trying to avoid the fight, because he almost got put away a few times on the feet. This guy is dangerous. He's got heavy hands. He's not afraid to take a hit. As I told you, he wouldn't be. He could take a hit to give it. That's why his nickname is, how do you say it again? I'm sorry, I need a translator over here.
Coração Valente.
Sorry, I can't have hearing problems. So too many times I got hit punched in the ear.
Coração Valente.
Coração
Valente.
That's a beautiful nickname if I've ever heard one. So he's nicknamed Braveheart for a reason, man. This is a guy who's got a heart. He doesn't want to put out, he wants to, and then it really upset me to see Dana White say that he wasn't trying to finish the fight. He's got a different style. This guy likes to finish fights from what Khabib did. Did anybody say anything bad about Khabib putting Gaethje to sleep from his back? Because it was Khabib, what, he gets more credit for it? This guy's got his own style. It was not for being different. He's different in his own way. So kudos to the underdog. We cashed in some heavy. Look, just so you guys know, man, I know I've got a lot of haters coming out of the woodworks, and I probably shouldn't do this, but I want to first of all do this to thank you guys, my boys back home in Chicago, who I don't have to even tell them when I wake up in the morning. I see messages from my bank notification, from my PayPal, from my thing that they're sending me love, because they win all this money off. Even before I was doing this channel, they were winning money off of my bets, and they like to break me down to pieces. So thank you guys. Like, just off the one fight alone, I even had my own. I don't even get my family involved. I called my father and I said, look, the lines are moved. I'll show you the messages between me and my father. I'm going to screenshot it on my Twitter. I told my father, go bet. My father opened up his first time ever, opened up a FanDuel account. It took me 40 minutes. I felt like an IT technician trying to get him to find out how to bet money. So he went and bet heavy chalk. This is just off of the main event, guys. And like they showed me, I get to go to the ATM the next morning. I don't got to wait for the banks to pay me because I got good friends out there. But there's other people that will start to surround you after you see yourself doing well, like haters that are trying to put things in my ears and make me not want to keep doing this. So, you know, they know who they are, and I'd like them to just stay away. If you don't have nothing good to say, don't say nothing. But just off the main event, guys, look, this is this bill here. This is not even 10% of what we made off the main event. This is equivalent to $600 in US dollars. When I go to the currency exchange or go to the airport when I'm flying back home to Chicago, they'll exchange it at the airport for an equivalent of about 600 and something. Can you check what's 500 euros in US dollars? The 500 euros is closer to around 600. Here's one. Here's another $500 bill. You guys want to see a $200 bill? Here's a $200 bill. A $100 bill. Another $100 bill. We got all this is coming. I didn't make it from working at McDonald's, man. So I know what I'm doing. If you're my patron and you have confidence, see, look, I'm not faulting my patrons because my patrons did make money if they just listened to what I said, and I'm sure they did because nobody complained. But as the longer you're going to be my patron, or if you don't have that trust because you're a new patron, just go back to my history and my I go over a year back of track records from posting on my Facebook and my Twitter. I'm very transparent. I post everything before the fights, and you'll see I've never had a losing week. Actually, I will tell you, in my entire life, the only losing week I ever had in my entire life was the Edmund Shabazian night. I was winning. I was up over $1,000. I was stupid enough to put the entire winnings on the biggest favorite of the night. On the hype train, he was undefeated at the time. He was the biggest favorite going against Derek Brunson. That was the only night which, if I just didn't bet on that last main event fight, I would have had an awesome night, over $1,000 in profit. But for the first time ever, I went against my own rule. I put all my money on the favorite, the biggest favorite. It was the hype train. He's a fellow Middle Eastern. They're like Armenian. I'm an Arab, so we're like related. Maybe it was just my fight fan inside me trying to show, like, you know, some pride. Just like when Beneil Dariush fights, man. I'm a huge fan. I don't think anybody's made me as much money as Beneil Dariush. I've put some money on that guy like I never should have, but he's always pulled through for me, so shout out to Beneil Dariush for doing that for me. Anyways, back to where we were. Another guy who I was overly impressed with. Have you ever seen a guy who lost a fight and had more fans than the guy who won the fight? Well, there was a big time, Joe Lowry, however you say his name, the guy who I told you, if you ever want to go into a bar fight, that's the guy you want next to you. Talk about toughness, just like Michael Bisping was saying. This kid is tough, and even until the third round, he was a threat. He was showing signs of being able to put this guy away. Every time, and the only reason he didn't win is because for the first time, we witnessed a Brazilian who was a tamed Brazilian. He was not overly aggressive. He was not, his temperament was very calm. He was not showing aggression. He was very disciplined. And I did not expect that from him. I was expecting him to go in, because it's a Dana White series show. You got to show, this is your only chance to earn a contract. So most of them don't come disciplined. They go, you know, balls to the walls and try to do a highlight reel for it. If he had fought like that, it was going to be Joe Crowder's night. As you can see, it was a close fight, back and forth. This guy's so tough. If you guys was following my Twitter, after I saw he broke his nose, I tweeted, right, don't blow your nose, Joe. Every fighter knows if you get a broken nose and you blow your nose, it puffs up and they have to stop the fight a lot of times. Not only did after I tweeted that, his coaches, even in his trainer in his corner, said, Joe, don't blow your nose. I heard him say it to him like 10 times after that. He still blew his nose twice, and the guy went out there and finished the fight. Still, every time this guy was getting him against the cage where he was getting some of the better of the exchanges, even Bisping himself said usually people would ball up and be on the defense and cover up. This guy was throwing more strikes. That's the type of guy I said you want on your side for a reason. when he was in trouble, he showed better offense. He didn't ball up and cover up and try to worry about not getting hit. He hit more than he was hitting before, and that's why the other guy couldn't put him away as much damage as he was doing. But so those are two good prospects. I hope I see them both in the UFC, and I think everybody was tweeting to give them both contracts, so I'm pretty sure they both got a contract. Anyways, greatest. When you get plus 200 on a guy like Joe Lowry, jump on that. I'm always, when there's a close fight like that and it's toe to toe, and you see every time he gives him a good strike, a punch, this guy is almost looking like he's about to go down. That's where I want my money. I want my money on the plus side, where I know my 100 is going to bring me back 200-300, not 10-20 bucks. So smart play over there. The guy who we couldn't watch too much tape on, I told you we've only seen like 30 seconds of him in one fight. I told you I wish I'd seen more tape on. Now we got the tape out there. We know that he's a one round make it or break it type of deal. If he doesn't, that's the guy who you got to hedge off of after the first minute of the first round. He's no good. He's a one-trick pony. He's going to have to come in. And he almost did the job, though. In the first round, he put him away almost very quickly. He did some impressive, like, flying knees type of stuff. Almost put him in a couple of submissions. So, but the gritty, the tough, small. And this fight reminds me of a UFC fight coming up this weekend of Tyson. What's his name? The guy who I bet on. A lot of people are going against him. Let me pull up the card. It's a fight that reminds me of one that we're going to see this weekend. The shorter, stockier guy, even though he's smaller, he's not as long, and he may not be the bigger guy. Sometimes being shorter and stockier is a benefit to, like, for example, this fight that I wanted to talk to you guys about, and people were wondering, like, who to go with because they're very similar styles, except one of them, the underdog in this case, has a bit of a size advantage, so they were going to maybe use that as a slight advantage and want to put money on him. I recommend that you guys go with his name is Tony Gravely. Now, they are going to probably get closer to a pick'em when fight night comes. Right now, he's at a minus 150 only, so he's a slight favorite. That means he's got good value. Now, they're similar in a lot of senses. They're both going to want to take each other to the ground. They're both like sprawl and brawl. They're wrestlers. They like to try to gain the top position and better positioning. The only advantage I would see why Gravely should be the favorite, and it's rightfully so, is because he's going to be the bulkier, stronger, more heavier. He's the kind of guy who can bench more, and if you can put more on the weights on the bench, that means you can get the better of the exchanges in the grappling as well. So I see him being the one that's got the slightly better advantages on the ground, and that's where this fight is mostly going to play out for both of them, because they both have similar styles. So it's going to be a fun fight. I do want you guys to know I see, for more than one reason, an advantage towards Gravely on that fight, if anybody was wondering, because a lot of people are going with the underdog there. So my recommendation is to go with Gravely on that. Anyway, so yeah, fun night. The girl, if you guys listened to me, I posted on Twitter before the fight started and on my Patreon that this fight was going to be over early. The Brazilian girl, her name is, starts with a P, like Paulino, something like that. I'm sorry, but I can't, I'm very bad at names. She ended up pulling through for us. Not only did she win, so we won money on that straight bet, the money line bet, but we also cashed in on the prop bet. She got her out in the first round as expected. So now she's 8-1, impressively going into her career. I think she got the contract, obviously, because she was able to put away her opponent like you're supposed to. So good for her. The first fight, I told you, because he was paying minus 700, unless you got a lot of money, he didn't fight like a minus 700 fighter. He couldn't even put away the guy. So if anybody that Dana White should be complaining about is the guy who was talking all that stuff after the fight, saying, I beat the F out of him. You fell asleep on top of him, man. You weren't doing nothing impressive. And that's why I wasn't comfortable putting thousands of dollars to win a couple of $100 on a guy who entire fight had dominant position and couldn't even put a scratch on his opponent. His opponent finished the fight after 3 rounds of being dominant without even a scratch on him. So that's not the type of fighter who should deserve a contract in the UFC, in my opinion. So I wasn't impressed by him. I wasn't going to put no minus 700, but I did pick him to win, and that's who I send him as a winning pick, who I circled on my Patreon and my Twitter before the fight started. But too expensive of a ticket, so hopefully Maybe you guys bet the prop decision to go over, because obviously this guy's not the type that can put away fights. As if you were following anything I was saying, I said this guy cannot, early in the night I said he cannot put away this guy even in a dominant position. Even his coaches were trying to tell him in between rounds, you could have transitioned into the mount, and you could have done some ground and put him away. He wasn't having it. He was more focused on just trying to hold the guy down without getting damage or giving damage. Not the type of fight. I fell asleep in the first fight of the night, so not anything good I can say about that guy. All right, so thank you. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. We're gonna be coming at you with the next video, talking about more about the UFC card coming up, about some of the fades of the week. When I give you a fade of the week, as you can see my track record, they've all either got knocked out or put away decisively. Every time I give you a fade of the week, it means you can put heavy chalk against them, and I'll give you some good straight bets and money value picks where I saw line movement, as I noticed yesterday, being taken, and we can take advantage of it and make a lot of money. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your views. See you on the next video.